So the first thing you want to do is just get into your building drawing, and you should have your large tool set right here. And we're just going to start drawing this picnic table by drawing a couple components on the table. So I'm going to kind of get to a top view, and basically all I'm doing is I'm just moving my mouse to a location. I'm pushing down on my wheel button. That allows me to orbit my drawing. I want to kind of get in a top view here. So I'm going to draw the first component here. I'm going to go up here and go to my rectangle command. I'm going to pick close to this red line, the red axis. It doesn't matter if it's right on it or not. I'm going to move out in this direction, and I'm going to type in 7.25, comma 72. 7.25, comma 72, and you'll notice that'll show up right down here. Okay. I'll do it one more time for you. 7.25, 72. Then just hit enter. So there's my first component right there. It is just a flat surface, so I'm going to give it some thickness. I'll go over here to my push-pull command, pick on the top surface, move upward, type in 1.5 and hit enter. Now we've got an element there that's 7 1/4 by 72 by 1.5 inches thick. So I want to make that a group. Go up here to your selection arrow, triple click it, click 3 times real fast. Right click on it and say make group. Now if I click off of it and then click back on it, it'll grab the whole thing. That's what I want. I'll go back up to rectangle, pick close to the red line again, move up in this direction right here. This time I'm going to go 9.25, comma 72. Center. Again, I'm going to use push-pull over here. Pick on the top surface, move upward, type in 1.5, enter. I'm then going to go to my selection arrow, triple click that, right click, make it a group. So now I've got 2 elements of my picnic table done. The next element of my picnic table, I'll draw right here. Go to my rectangle command, pick close to the red line, move in this direction, type in 3.5, comma 54. Zoom in a little bit on it using your wheel button. Pick the top surface, come straight up, 1.5, enter. So it was 3.5 by 54 and 1.5 thick. Go to my selection arrow, triple click it, right click, and say make it a group. Now on this one right here, I'm going to cut the corners off on this side and this side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some guidelines. Okay. Now since this is a group, the first thing I want to do is right click on it, say edit the group. Now you'll notice that all my other elements disappeared when I edited this group. If that happened to you, the reason for it is if I go to View, Component Edit, it's saying hide the rest of the model. If I still want to see the rest of the model, I just click that check mark, and now the rest of my model is visible. But I'm still editing just this group. So I'm going to go over here to my tape measure tool. I'm going to come off this edge in this direction and type in 2, enter. I'm going to come off this end in this direction, 2, enter. I'm going to come off the opposite end in this direction, 2, enter. Now I'm just going to go to my line command. I'm going to do a little intersection, intersection. Come down on this end, intersection, intersection. Take your push-pull now. Pick that little triangle, push it down, pick that endpoint. It'll get rid of that corner. Spin around to the other side. Pick there, down, pick that endpoint, It knocks off that corner. Right click and say close the group. Okay, I've now got 3 elements drawn. I'm going to get rid of these guidelines right here. Don't want to see them anymore, so I go to Edit, Delete Guides. Guidelines disappear. I'm ready for my 4th element. Go to the rectangle command again. Pick close to the red axis line. Move in this direction, and this time type in 3.5, comma, 36.25. 36.25. You can see in the lower left-hand column by dimensions where that input's going right there. So I press enter. Here's my next rectangle. Now I'm going to show you another way of knocking off the corners before we give it thickness. So before I give it any thickness, what I could do is go to my tape measure tool, come off of this edge, 2, come off of this edge, 2, and come off of this edge, 2. Go ahead and draw my line right now, intersection, intersection. Make sure you're getting intersection to intersection there. And then simply go to your selection tool up here, your selection arrow, pick there, hit delete on your keyboard, pick there, hit delete on your keyboard, come back down here, pick right here, delete on your keyboard, pick right here, delete on your keyboard. Now go up to Edit, delete your guides, go to Push-Pull, pick that surface and come up and type in 1.5. Hit enter. That's another way to do the exact same thing in SketchUp. Now I need to make this a group. It's right now separate surfaces and lines. So I'm going to go to my selection tool, triple click it. When I triple click, it grabs everything. Right click on it and say make a group. I now have 4 elements. Okay, my next element I'm going to draw is going to be the leg of the table. So I'm going to draw it using the rectangle command. Pick close to the yellow line, go up in this direction, type in 3.5, comma, this time we're going to type in 42, or hit enter. So there it is right there. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to cut this off right here so that the angle between this line and the line I'm going to draw is going to be 54 degrees. So here's one way I can do that. If I take my tape measure tool right here and I pick someplace on this line and then on the end point, it will place a continuous guideline that goes all the way down that edge. Okay? I want you next to use your selection arrow and pick that guideline. Go to rotate right here. Pick on it. With the blue protractor, go right over top of that endpoint. If you can't get the blue protractor, just hit the up arrow key. Pick right there on that endpoint. Pick any place on this edge and move in this direction. Type in 54, hit enter. Now rotated that guideline over to here, 54 degrees. Take your pencil tool, pick that endpoint, that intersection. That will be the bottom of our leg. Okay? Now, our leg is exactly from this point to the point at the top is going to be exactly 36 inches. So I'm going to come over here with my tape measure tool. I'm going to pick any place on this bottom line right here. I'll move up on the green axis, type in 36 and hit enter. So right there is where the top of my leg is going to be. I want you then to go to your selection tool, pick on that line right there. If you have trouble and the guideline starts selecting, you can click on the guideline hit delete and erase the guideline to get it out of your way. Select that line, and while it's selected, go to Move. Pick this endpoint right here. Move in this direction and hit Control one time. And then pick that intersection right there. I just copied that angled line 54 degrees to that location. Go to your selection arrow and clean up these ends by selecting that line, hitting delete, that line, delete, and that line, delete. Now down at the bottom, this line and this line, delete. This too will have a thickness of 1.5 inches, so I will go to my push-pull command, pick on it, come up, type in 1.5, and hit enter. I need to make this a group, so I'll go to my selection arrow, triple click it, right click, make group. Now, I'm going to delete my guidelines to clean this up a little bit, so I'll go back up here to edit and say delete guides. I'm going to start to construct my picnic table now. I still have a couple elements that I haven't drawn yet, but we'll draw those once we get this partially assembled. I'm going to be doing several rotational steps, so I'm going to take these elements and I'm going to rotate them in multiple directions to get them located as I like. It's important that you pay attention to the color of the protractor when I'm rotating. And remember that if I want the protractor to be blue, I push the up arrow. If I want it to be red, I push the right arrow. If I want it to be green, I push the left arrow. So let's get started. Let's select our leg right here. And I am just going to go to rotate right here. I'm going to hover right here over this corner, right there. I'm not going to pick there, I'm just going to hover. I'm going to get it hovering on that. I'm going to hit my left arrow key. You'll notice that that's going to rotate my leg around the green axis. If I hit my right arrow key, it will rotate it around the red axis. So I'm going to leave it on red, right arrow key. I'm going to pick right there. I'm then going to pick right there. I'm going to move in this direction, kind of rotating it toward me. And I'm going to type 90 and hit enter. Now, I want to establish a line right here. So I'm going to just go over here to my tape measure tool, grab my tape measure tool, and then pick on my red axis. And then after picking on my red axis, I'm just going to pick on that endpoint right there. So now I have this guideline right here to guide me in my next rotation. So with my element selected, I go back to rotate. I hover right here, and this time I want to pick my left arrow key, green axis. I pick right there. I pick right here, and then I pick my guideline. It will rotate it down my guideline. I could also enter 36 or 36 degrees. Now my leg is setting exactly like I want it to sit right there. Okay? Now, the picnic table has a leg going up this way and then back down this way. And those two legs meet right here on this edge. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate this so I'm looking kind of down at the top of it right here. I'm going to find the midpoint of its thickness right here by sliding along here, and it will tell me midpoint in group. With my blue rectangle right there, I'm simply going to, or with my blue protractor, excuse me, I'm simply going to pick right there. I'm going to move on the red axis and pick any place one more time. And then as I move in this direction, I want to press the control key one time and release to make a copy. And I'm going to move on around in this direction and then type in 180 for 180 degrees. and hit enter. If I look at it, I now have a leg in both directions. Okay? All right. Now, the next move I'm going to make is I'm going to take this board right here, and I want it to go across the top right here. This would be the shorter of these two elements right here, this one. Okay? So the first thing I'm going to do is, looking at it, I want it rotated up in this direction. So I'm simply going to go, after I select it, I'm going to go to rotate. I want my green axis, so I'm going to hover over a corner of it, hit my left arrow, pick on that corner. This time I'll just go straight up on the blue axis, pick again at any point on the blue axis, move to the left and type in 90. Okay, this is how it should be looking. It should have the chamfer that we cut on the bottom. This would be the top. I now need to rotate it 90 degrees in this direction. So I'm going to pick on it, go to rotate, hover above one of my corners, go down one edge, make my second pick, move in this direction and type in 90. Okay. Now mine kind of went underneath my leg there, so I'll just go to move and move it out here into space. Okay, so now I've got this one rotated up in the correct direction. I just need to place it at the top where it goes. So I'm going to click on it, I'm going to go to move. On the back side of it right here, I'm just going to come down the back edge till it tells me, should give me midpoint in group. If I just move my mouse incrementally in small increments, it'll give me midpoint in group. It'll show me a little purple dot right there. When it does, I'm going to pick right there. And then I'm going to just slide up there and pick right where my two legs intersect right there. Okay. So my top rail is on there. I'm going to go to my tape measure tool. I'm going to pick right here on the bottom of my leg, right here on the angled line. I'm going to move in the blue direction. I'm going to type in 16, hit enter. Okay. I now need a vertical guideline also, and I want that vertical guideline to go down right at that point right there. So all I need is any vertical edge. So I could pick the vertical edge right here. I could go over here and pick my vertical blue axis. I could pick any perfectly vertical edge I wanted. I'm just going to pick this edge right here. And you notice it instantly gives me a guideline, but I want to put it right there. So I'm going to pick right there. And what I've created there is an intersection. See, now I have an intersection right there. So I can locate the midpoint of this on that intersection right there, and everything is perfectly symmetrical. So let's go back over here. Let's pick this fourth element here. And we're going to go to rotate. Come right out here on the end with my green protractor. Hit your left arrow. Pick. Go up on the blue axis. Pick again. Rotate in this direction and type in 90. Okay. I now need to rotate it 90 degrees this way. So I'm going to hover over this corner right here. Get my blue protractor. If it won't give it to me, hit my up arrow, pick right there, go down that edge, pick a second time, move in this direction, and type in 90. Now, my other boards are in the way right there, so I'm just going to go to move. I'm going to pick this, I'm going to move it out here in space to make it a little bit easier to grab. Okay? While I'm still moving, I'm going to slide along this back edge till I get the midpoint of the object right there, midpoint in group. I will pick right there and then pick my intersection. I've now completed the leg structure for my picnic table. Okay. Now, We're going to add one seat board to one side, and we're going to add one tabletop board to the middle. The rest of the boards we'll place later so that it still allows us to have some access to see underneath the table. So I'll start by coming over here, going to my selection arrow, and selecting my top board, which is the narrower of the two. It's only 7.5 wide. I am going to select it. I'm going to go to move. I'm going to pick its bottom middle. So I'm going to pick its bottom midpoint right there. I'm going to put its bottom midpoint right on the midpoint of that board right there. Okay. I'm then going to hit my selection arrow. I'm going to pick my seat board. On my seat board, I'm going to pick the bottom right-hand corner. When I go to move, bottom right-hand corner, and I'm going to pick that right there. Okay, so now they're both setting even with my legs, just like that. What I want to do is I want to move both of these 4 inches out. So I have about a 4-inch overhang over the top of that. So I'll go up here to my selection arrow right here. I'm going to pick this board. I'm going to hold down my shift key and pick the second board. Then I can release my shift key. The shift key allows me to pick multiple objects at one time. With both of these objects highlighted, I'm going to go to move. I'm going to pick some place on my seat board right here. And I'm just going to go on the green axis, moving my board on the green axis like that. I'm going to type in 4 and hit enter. I now moved both those boards so that they overhung my end of my table 4 inches. Okay. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to delete my guides because I'm pretty much done with these guides right here. So I'll go up to edit and delete those guides. I'm going to, using my middle button, my wheel button, I'm going to hold down and slowly rotate so I can see the underside of my tabletop board. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come off of this bottom edge right here in this direction, and I'm going to put a guideline across here right on the middle of it. So I'm going to go to my tape measure tool, grab that bottom edge, then I'm just going to come down with my tape measure right on that edge, and it will click on the midpoint for me. Right there. Should be 3 feet because I have a 72-inch board. So now I've got a guideline going right across the bottom of that. See it? Okay. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. I'm going to pick on the guideline. I'm going to go 1.75 to the right. I'm going to pick on my center line again and go 1.75 to the left. Okay. I'm then going to select my rectangle tool. I'm going to pick this intersection and that intersection. You'll see it drew a rectangle right there. Go to your push-pull, pick on that rectangle and come downward. Type in 1.5 and hit enter. Zoom out now a little bit. Okay, I'm going to delete my guides, so go up to Edit, Delete Guides. And I'm going to pick this end of that element with my push-pull, and I'm going to pull it out, and I'm just going to pick on this corner right here. What I'm doing is I'm referencing to push-pull it out to meet that. I'm going to go to the other side. I'm going to grab that edge of it and that corner. I'm now done with that element, so I'm going to go to my selection arrow, triple click it, and make it a group. Okay, we have one more element to draw. Okay, so our next element is going to be a board that's going to go from here down to here at an angle. It's going to be a brace. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to come right here by my red line. I'm going to kind of go up and out like this, just like we drew those first couple objects. And I'm going to type in 3.5, comma, and we'll go 48 and hit enter. And then what I want to do is I want to come in here on that element, pull it up 1.5, and then go to my selection arrow and make it a group by triple clicking, right clicking, make a group. Now, what I want to do is I want to place the top midpoint right here of that board right at the midpoint of this board right there. So I'm simply going to do this. Select the board, go to move. I'm going to zoom in right here and I'm going to get the midpoint. Okay, make sure it says midpoint and then pick. I'm going to zoom out. I'm going to twist it so I can see the bottom. I'm going to zoom in. Notice how now I almost go into an X-ray mode so I can actually see through my object. I'm just going to move down this edge until I hit midpoint again. Boom. When I do, I hit my left-hand button to select that. And now my board is right there. Okay. Now, what I want to do is I want to take this board and I want to rotate it around that point down so that its top hits right at the top of this board. So in order to do that, select this board and go to rotate. Now, I need my red protractor or my right arrow key. So I have my red protractor right here. I'm going to pick right in that location right there. I'm just going to move out here and pick any place along this top edge. It doesn't matter where I pick. And then I'm going to zoom out and come over here and I'm going to pick this edge right here. This edge. As long as that edge is selected, I pick it. And what you'll notice is it rotated that down so that it perfectly intersects right on that corner. Okay. Now obviously, I've got a little bit of trimming to do at the top. Right there. And I've got a little bit of trimming to do at the bottom to get rid of all that. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a different tool this time. And this tool works extremely well as long as you have your objects grouped properly and you have a nice clean drawing. It's called Solid Tools, and we're going to use it to trim two solid tools together. So what I want to do if I'm going to use Solid Tools is I want to pick my trimming element first. So this would be my trimming element. This is what I want to be trimmed. So I'm going to pick my trimming element first. I'm going to go up to the top of my screen and click on Tools, come down to Solid Tools, and then come on the flyout menu, pick on Trim. I'm then going to pick my board right here one time. After I do that, I'm going to go up here and hit my selection arrow. I'm going to come down here and I'm going to pick this board as my trimming element. I'm going to go to Tools, Solid Tools, Trim. I'm going to pick my brace board again. Okay. Now, if I look at my brace board, by clicking on it, right click and say Edit the Group, I go up here and I say View, Component Edit, Hide Rest of Model. Notice how it trimmed out where that was, and then if I look at the top, it trimmed it out perfectly where that top board was. I don't want this down here, so I'm just going to triple click on that and then hit Delete. Right click and say Close the Group. I now have the brace board located perfectly right there using Solid Tools. All right, now I want this same configuration right here at the other end of my picnic table. And I could easily go down there and draw all these elements again. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this entire set of elements, I'm going to rotate it around the center of my picnic table and copy it at the same time. In order to do that, I need to know where the center of my picnic table is. So select your tape measure tool, pick on this end right here of the top board, Come right down this edge till you get to midpoint or 3 feet. Then zoom in on the top board, pick on one edge, go over until it gives you the middle or 3 5/8 inches. Pick again. That is the center of my picnic table. That will be the point that I rotate this around. Now, the next thing I need to do is grab my selection arrow right here, and I'm going to pick all of the elements that I want to rotate. I want to rotate 5 different elements all at the same time. I want this top board right here, so I'm going to select it. I'm then going to hold down my shift key and keep it held down. I want this leg, I want this leg, I want the bottom rail, and I want this diagonal brace right here, all copied around the center point. Once I have all 5 selected, I release the shift key. I go right up here to the center of my table, and I pick rotate. I want a blue protractor, and I want that blue protractor right on that intersection. So I'm going to pick. I'm going to move right down the green axis and pick again. And then I'm going to come in this direction. I'm going to depress and release my control key one time to make a copy. And then I'm going to type in 180 degrees. 180, enter. I now have all of those elements at the opposite end of my table. So to finish our picnic table right here, all I need to do is go up here. I'll go up to edit and delete my guides. I will then take this board right here. I'll go to move. I will simply pick its top left corner, hit Control, and pick its top right corner. And then I'll type in the number 2 and the letter X and hit enter. I will then pick that same board again. I will say move. I will pick its top right corner, Control, top left corner, the number 2, letter X, and enter. Here's my top. And lastly, I'm going to just go right up here underneath my picnic table. I'm going to pick my other seat. I'm going to go move. I'm going to pick that intersection right there. See that? I'm going to hit Control, so I copy. I'm going to put that intersection right on that endpoint. I have now created a picnic table.